Hi, and thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the Royals and Demi Lovato. We end with our weekly feature, the Comments of the Week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 89. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write a Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra. I write as Kaiser. I'm the head writer for Celebrity. I screwed that up.
It's okay. You want to do it again? You can do it.
No, it's fine.
Okay. We'll be off next week and back on May 9th. And I feel like I want to be off this week, but I'll still do this. Because we got the second shot last Friday and both of us were kind of wiped out from it. How are you feeling?
Yeah, like Saturday was the worst for me. My body felt terrible and I felt really high.
Yeah, me too.
I felt like I slept it off. But then my period got really bad. Like I had the second shot while I was like maybe 2 or 3 days into my period. And it just kept going. And like my cramps were getting worse, which never happens.
Oh, because your whole body was learning how to fight the thing.
I guess. So, but now my period is finally over and my cramps, they're not as bad.
I got mine at the same time too. That's really weird. And I think it was worse than it would have been.
Yeah.
I think I'm starting to get out of it. Like yesterday I started to feel better. And then today I put some of those little patches called salon paws.
My mom uses those.
Your mom uses it. And I was really zoned out today and I realized I had put 2 of them on and they have like ibuprofen and stuff in them. So it does get absorbed. So I can't really take any medicine because I'm very sensitive to it.
And I've been taking something every day, like Tylenol at first, and then I'm back on my Aleve and ibuprofen. Took an ibuprofen as soon as I got up this morning. I think that really helped with my cramps.
Oh, yeah, it does. They always tell you to take that. I just take Tylenol off and on. You know, it makes me think funny when I take ibuprofen, but I was already so spacey from the
Well, last night I felt so bad. I was like, I'm just going to take these CBD gummies that I bought from Martha Stewart's CBD line. And 2 of them, I felt like a noticeable difference of just relaxation. It just took the edge off slightly, just enough.
I take CBD oil and I like it. I don't take it on the weekdays because it kind of makes me groggy the next day, but I like it on the weekends. I take it from a company called CB Distillery. And I've been trying to buy like the cheap hemp oil from Amazon, and that sort of works too.
Well, it's weird because a lot of the fussy Christian ladies, they're getting into CBD as well. I've had a number of like the church ladies suggest that I start taking CBD oil, put it on my knee or something like that. And I'm like, really?
Oh.
You're into that?
Really?
They think it's all natural, which it is.
Pot is natural too. Should be legal.
Yeah, it should be. It will be.
Hopefully. So we have the Oscars coming up Sunday night, and our podcast is coming out Sunday mornings. I don't know if everybody listens to it when it comes out. And nobody seems like they're really looking forward to the Oscars this year because they just screw everything up. Like, I want to just give a shout out to the SAGs again because they pre-taped the entire thing and cut it to an hour, and it was very good.
It still felt too long.
Yeah, but it was an hour. It was awesome. The Oscars are going to be 3 hours, 3.5.
I think they're going to be the same length they always are. And like the SAGs at least tried to understand that if you're doing it virtually, you can change up the format and you can do something different. And you don't have to just bore people to tears just because you have that time slot.
It was pretty entertaining, the little segments they put together with the celebrities and stuff. They had some good editors. They tried. I want to give them some credit for that.
Yeah, like I loved that they contacted the Ted Lasso people for those little segments. I think that was really cute. That was
genius. Because that's the best show there is right now.
Yeah. But you know the Oscars are just going to do some dumb fuck shit.
And they're saying people can't wear masks on camera, or they're telling them not to, which is asinine because we need to model mask wearing. Celebrities are trend setters, and this is ridiculous. Like the Grammys did it right. They did it outside. People wore masks except when they won and took them off to accept. Just do it that way.
Well, remember the red carpet show for the Grammys? Giuliani was telling people not to wear masks. That was idiotic.
The one woman who wore it, she's like, come closer. She had coronavirus. She's an asshole.
Well, for the Oscars, the red carpet part of it sounds okay. They're not going to do like a huge bank of photographers. Only a few people are going to get credentials. So like that part of it sounds okay. When you're inside the theater, just space everyone out and just tell everyone to keep on their masks unless they're on stage. It's not hard.
And they're not letting them. And the fact is that they also showed disdain in their statements. Soderbergh and the other producers showed disdain towards Zoom. And they're like, oh, we're not doing that. Are you kidding me? They're making everybody go to LA. And after that, they had some kind of concession with hubs in Europe, which was unclear what they're really doing. We'll have to see how that works out.
Well, yeah, it was because the European actors were like, we're not going to fly into LA just for the Oscars this year. Like, just screw you guys.
You would expect Oscars to do this, though. You'd expect them to have older producers who don't understand that things have changed and aren't going to change.
And what's funny about that is that Soderbergh is known as like someone who can change with the times, who like experiments. You'd think that that's why they hired him, to produce an unconventional Oscars and to like change the format up and stuff like that. Instead, it sounds like he's just going to do the same old fucking Oscars.
And a lot of people are not going to watch it. We were talking in Zoom about it, and everyone basically said, yeah, I usually watch the Oscars, but I'm not going to bother this year. I forgot it was even this weekend. I mean, we have to watch it for our job, but we'll be bitching the whole time like we normally do.
I'm excited to see a few of the categories. I think it's going to be super depressing. Just overall, though. Like, it's going to be really boring and really depressing.
Yeah, and there's no amazing movie. Like, you and I both saw all the movies nominated for Best Picture, and they were good, but there's nothing like, oh my gosh, that has to win.
I mean, I'm very passionate about Riz Ahmed, but I don't think he's going to win.
Yeah. That was a really great performance and a slow-paced, excellent movie.
Yeah. I would love it if he won. That would make the evening for me, which is how I know he's not going to win. And we both saw The Father over the weekend, and I was like whacked out of my mind when I was watching it. So
I fast forwarded through the second half because it was so depressing. Like, the performances were really good, and I liked how it switched the perspective. So you were seeing it through the lead with dementia's eyes, but it was just depressing.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony Hopkins was it was a masterclass from him. Olivia Colman was brilliant, as always.
Yeah. And we both saw Minari, too. And Minari was a sweet movie, but it was a little too long, and it was just sad.
I liked Minari. I thought that was another one where the performances were great, if albeit rather depressing. I felt like the whole second half of the film should have been rewritten, or the film should have been shorter.
I agree with that. It should have been cut by a half hour to 45 minutes, I think. But I think that about a lot of movies because my patience is low. Yeah, so there's no big movie where we're like, I'm rooting for that movie. We talked about Trial of the Chicago 7 in episode 84, and we both liked that. And I'd be happy if that won Best Picture.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be happy with that one, too. Yeah, there were movies I liked this year, and obviously there are clearly performances that were, like, quietly rooting for. It's not enough to like watch a 4-hour award show in a pandemic where people are wandering around without their masks.
It's still hard for me in person and on screen when I'm watching a newer show to see people gather without masks. Like, I might be vaccinated, but it doesn't feel like it's enough. There's like this anxiety response I get even if it's on screen.
Well, and I've been watching a few of the new shows, not many, because I don't watch a lot of new TV shows, but there's Prodigal Son, and I was watching like the new Law and Order, whatever, the one with Christopher Maloney. And they've been like doing a little something or other with masks. Both those shows film in New York, and people still have to wear their masks outside. They do this weird thing where, like, they'll just show an actor wearing a mask for a split second and then they'll rip it off. You know?
That's the same with 911 Lone Star, where they have episodes set during last year. and they're like rushing to solve these ridiculous emergencies, and you barely see masks, or they'll have them a little bit. And then they're all hanging out together and going to each other's houses, and there's nothing, it just, you're like, why are they doing this? I still watch it because you could turn your brain so far off when you're watching that show. All right, so let's talk about the royals. We had Prince Philip's funeral on Saturday morning. It was 45 minutes, and there were supposed to be just 30 people there in the chapel, which were immediate family, of course. And then there were so many soldiers and military. I don't know what they're classified as, which is great, but nobody was wearing a mask outside. Some of the military guys were wearing masks,
but most of them were not. And like none of the royals were masked outside, even though they were standing pretty close to each other.
So Sarah in our Zoom group talks about that, and she says in the UK, they're still like, oh, we don't need masks outside. And they're still pretty bad about it.
You should model good mask wearing behavior. It's just that simple, you guys.
Yeah. So we heard that Prince William and Prince Harry would not walk side by side in the funeral procession to the church. And that was what happened. Peter Phillips was kind of in between them, although he hung back so that we got the pictures of William and Harry headed to the church, and William was like clenching his jaw, and Harry just kind of looked down. He was looking sad. And then after that, we heard it was William's idea for Peter to act as a buffer, because of course it was.
Right. I figured that out when the scheme was announced 2 days before.
Scheme.
Because the queen so obviously like fell on her sword about it. She was like, this is my decision. William and Harry don't have to walk side by side. Peter Phillips is going to walk in between them. I was like, yeah, that sounds like William threw a fit about it. And of course, that's what sources later confirmed, is that William threw a fit and basically had a tantrum to his widowed grandmother, and said, I'm not walking beside my brother. What an asshole. Anyway.
Yeah. And then, of course, afterwards, they walked next to each other, and we got all these bullshit stories about how Kate was going to be the peacemaker because she can't do anything without telling you about it first.
Yeah, she has to telegraph everything.
Oh, I got this great idea. Wait till you hear about it. We never hear about it. So
that counts as an event, by the way, when she says, I have a really good idea.
No, when she thinks about it, it counts as an event. And then when she says it, it's another one. So when they were leaving the church, Kate was talking to Harry, and then she fell back so Harry could talk to William. And this is like the most amazing thing ever. And now Kate is this peacemaker and this rock that's going to keep the monarchy together. And she's wearing the queen's jewelry. She never puts a foot out of line. I mean, come on with this.
Yeah. I mean, and they had already written those pieces, I feel like. As soon as Kate stepped out in her, like, really kind of inappropriate funeral drag, it was just so obvious that she was making this entire funeral about herself. And then all the press pieces started coming out. Like, oh, okay, Kate really was making it all about herself.
She was. And the news of that even reached the U.S. and the U.S. coverage of the funeral. Mm-hmm. So we talked about this on Zoom, and this is Karen, Courtney, Susan, and Zakia.
And how much of a baby do you have to be that you go, no, we're going to have our cousin in between us because I'm like mad.
I really love that Philip, though, was like repeatedly like slipping back. And, oh, whoops, guys, I'm walking a bit slow. It's like, I bet he's a drama queen. Also, I kept thinking about the story of him driving 400 miles for a booty call. And I was like, oh, he's having a rough year.
And I totally believe that was William's idea. Harry just could have cared less. I couldn't see Harry making a fuss about wearing a military uniform. He's just like, I'm just here to, out of sense of, duty, to honor my grandfather. I don't think he even cared about all that. I think it was William, like, someone has to be put in between us. Like, for what?
Exactly. What, are they going to start punching each other in front of everybody? I mean, what? What do you think was going to happen?
I could see that being William, being like, I won't be able to stand next to him. I'm so angry. I can believe that a person who has that much rage, they are the one who can't stand next to the other person, because Harry would definitely be fine.
during the day of the funeral, MSNBC was really going with the narrative that Kate was the healing person and brought William and Harry together. But even on my local news, they were saying that Kate was instrumental. How did it get from London to MSNBC to Philadelphia local morning news? And I'm thinking they just take it and just run with it. It travels from UK to national to local and not really even questioning whether it's true.
So I think Courtney made a good point that it was William's idea not to stand next to Harry because William can't trust himself.
I mean, I don't think William is even self-aware enough to say, oh, I can't trust myself around my brother. I think William is just a jealous, petty, small, short-sighted asshole. He thought he was being, like a future king, that he could say, I'm not going to stand next to my brother. I refuse to do that. And he thought that was making some sort of big point.
I mean, he thinks it's a good idea to leak that he's angry about everything all the time. Mm-hmm. So, like Zakia said, the U.S. outlets who ran the story of Kate the peacemaker, Kate's bringing the brothers together, they're just repeating the talking points that were very clearly set out by the British press.
My big whoa moment when I was high as hell after the vaccine and watching the funeral was that people are paying attention to the story about Harry and William.
Oh, yeah. I remember the story you wrote about that and how you were like, wow, this is not just Royals news anymore. This is national news.
Like CNN and MSNBC, they were talking about the narrative. They were talking about the Oprah interview. They were talking about how Charles and William are like mad at Harry and Harry is mad at them.
Yeah.
It's news. It's just flat out international news.
And then we heard that William still hasn't forgiven Harry for talking to Oprah. Mm-hmm. Like, what is there to forgive? They said how hurt and abandoned they were. And Meghan said she was suicidal when she was pregnant. Like, how are you still mad at them for that?
And William's not just mad about the Oprah thing. He's also mad that Harry told Gayle King that the phone calls were not productive. Oh, I mean, Charles and William are really mad about that.
They told it through sources before Harry did, and Harry owned it.
That's what they're still mad about. At a fundamental level, they're just mad that Harry has his own voice, that Harry has access to respected media outlets like Oprah and CBS This Morning and Gayle King.
And Scobie and Harper's Bazaar too, yeah.
Right. Like, they're just mad that he can't be controlled by them anymore. That's what they're mad about. Oof. And they should be mad because he's hot and happy and free and successful.
Yes. So there were a ton of stories in the British press about whether Harry spoke to Charles and William, how long Harry was going to stay. And they also reported that Harry sent Charles a letter.
Yeah, just story after story about that stuff. Like Sunday through Tuesday, William and Charles just must have been leaking like motherfuckers, telling all these different versions about what went down and who said what and where they walked and all this shit. Yeah, and then eventually Harry spoke to Scobie.
So Omid had this article in Harper's Bazaar. He wrote it very matter of fact. And he wrote that reports of peace talks and family summits have been wide off the mark. A tabloid report claiming that Harry wrote a deeply personal letter for his father before the funeral is also false. And here's the kicker that he wrote. Prince Charles has been staying at his estate.
Welsh estate.
Yeah, I can't pronounce that word, so I'm not going to even try. Over 185 miles away from Windsor since Sunday. So Charles is the one who fucked right off.
Yeah.
Not Harry. Charles left before his mom's birthday. Maybe he came back. We didn't get reports of that yet, but Charles left.
They've said that Charles is basically in Wales for like the whole week. 24 hours after the funeral, he went to Wales. I don't think that William and Kate hung around Windsor either. I think they went straight to London, probably Saturday evening or Sunday.
So nobody's helping the Queen with her first birthday after her husband passed.
Well, Sophie and Edward and Andrew and Fergie, they're helping the Queen, which I think is an issue that Charles should keep his eye on.
So People magazine also reported that Meghan spoke with the Queen both before and after Philip's funeral. And you were writing that it's really clear from what Harry and Meghan are saying that they do not want to implicate the Queen. They want to say that they speak with the Queen. They've said that in the Oprah interview.
Yeah, and like that royal commenter, what was his name? Peter Hunt. He made an interesting point about the whole play that Harry and Meghan are making, which is that they still have a good relationship with the Queen. Yes, they still talk to the Queen, but the whole entire Oprah interview was critical of the way the monarchy functions, and the Queen is the head of the monarchy.
So it's a fine line to walk.
Yeah, even though they're not directly criticizing the Queen is responsible for all of this bullshit.
Yeah. So we got a press statement from Meghan that she was watching the funeral from home because her doctor hadn't cleared her to travel, and that she and Harry sent a wreath for Prince Philip with a handwritten note. Now, she was just trying to get ahead of all the stories which had already started about her and whether she would travel. I mean, as we talked about last week, the Daily Mail was even asking mourners, oh, do you think Meghan should come? Even though her doctor told her not to, and she's very pregnant. And yet the Mail criticized her for having this statement. I mean, she sued the crap out of them and won. Of course, they're going to be so petty as to criticize her for putting out a press statement.
Right. Like, the Daily Mail criticized her, but you could also feel like they had palace sources saying, like, you know, we don't want to comment on this. But you could tell that there was a lot of disgust that Meghan issued a statement, because it was just before the funeral started that this like long ass statement came out about the wreath and her handwritten note. I think the timing was wrong.
Yeah.
If she wants to issue a statement, that's her right. Like, she has a spokesman, she has her voice now. Issue the statement after the funeral. I think it was bad form to release the statement before the funeral.
Okay. I think she was just trying to get ahead of the stories, and maybe she didn't think about that.
Right.
Plus, we got a million stories about Kate and how wonderful she was at the funeral, and that was despicable.
Right.
So
it was Kate exploiting a dead person again.
Yeah, like she did with Sarah Everard.
Right. And I don't think Meghan was exploiting Philip. I think she was just inserting herself at a point in time when she shouldn't have been.
I think she was overthinking it.
Yeah.
So we continue to get these really weird embiggening pieces about Kate, and they're just ridiculous now, and they've been for weeks. But it's hard to tell what's sarcastic. Yeah, you can't really tell.
Because everyone is British, there is that inherent sarcasm and that inherent snide quality to everything that's being written. It does come across like they're taking the piss out of her. But I don't think they are. I think they're just honestly like, oh no, this makes Kate look amazing.
So everyone is acting like Kate did some amazing thing by going to the funeral in a black outfit. And everyone is talking about these quotes from a royal reporter named Phil Dampier, who spoke to the Daily Mail. He said, "At Prince Philip's funeral, Kate really came of age. She comforted Prince Charles with an affectionate kiss and hug, brought William and Harry together, and very much gave a quiet dignity to proceedings. She reportedly took part in a chat at Frogmore Cottage along with Charles and William to heal the wounds with Harry. That must have been hard after what Harry and Meghan said about her in the Oprah Winfrey interview. But Kate is maturing rapidly and wants to do what's best for the royal family." So she's maturing rapidly, huh?
Yeah, she turns 40 next year.
You made that the title for the post on that, which was genius.
I mean, the thing is that Kate will forever be infantilized. They're always going to treat her like, oh, what a precocious big girl she is. She can get dressed by herself. And, oh, she walked all on her own to the funeral. And, like, it's just giving her credit for nothing.
And they're trying to act like she's the queen now.
I've written this a few times. Like, imagine if Camilla was doing any of this. Imagine if Camilla was, like, sending out people to talk about how she's the perfect future queen consort because she wore black at a funeral and, you know, hugged someone.
And acted normal.
Yeah. I mean, Camilla doesn't give a shit. That makes Camilla and Charles look better. The fact that Kate and William are making asses out of themselves right and left.
So Kate's buddy Camilla Tominey wrote in the Telegraph that Kate's sacrifice in the face of public duty on Saturday put her in the frame as a queen in waiting like never before. And then they also, in that same piece, they talked about the bridesmaid shit again.
Mm-hmm.
And said that Kate found Meghan quite intimidating. Isn't that what a lot of white women say about black women when they meet them and, you know, someone is more accomplished and has a real job and they do not, and they spent 10 years waiting for somebody to marry them while they worked for their parents.
She barely even worked for her parents.
That whole thing was just outrageous.
Yeah. Every time Kate demands that the narrative be centered on herself, it always turns out like this. It always ends up where she's being praised for doing the absolute bare minimum and like for being a barely functioning adult. She wore black to a funeral and she didn't seek revenge on Harry. Why would she seek revenge?
That part was bad. That said that she should get credit for not seeking revenge.
Right.
Like that was just, obviously she's thinking about it.
I mean, yeah, that's a good way to telegraph that she is vengeful. Oh, what a perfect future queen.
Yeah, it's outrageous. I put that on Twitter, the story about Kate finding Meghan quite intimidating. And that got ratioed in a good way because everyone commented and retweeted it without liking it. And the general answer was, you know, we know how white women find black women intimidating.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the same old racist dog whistles that Kate has been employing against Meghan since 2017.
And she never, ever got it.
Well, she's not the only one who didn't get it.
Yeah.
The British media has not gotten it this entire time.
Or they do, and that would be even more evil.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Demi Lovato. Demi Lovato went to a frozen yogurt shop in LA. I think it's called The Big Chill. And then she posted on Instagram about diet culture. While she was at a frozen yogurt shop, because I guess they had display cookies that said like guilt-free and sugar-free. It's a frozen yogurt shop. Like,
yeah.
That's why people eat frozen yogurt, because it has less calories.
Yeah, there were just layers of what the fuckery about this. Diet culture is a real thing. And if people want to call out diet culture, good for them. I try to do that with like Gwyneth Paltrow. I think that she
promotes dangerous eating habits and getting rid of entire food groups.
She promotes disordered eating as like a lifestyle choice that's beneficial for her and for other women too, that they should do.
And
that.
For kids.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But like instead of that, Demi Lovato like made this crazy, insane big deal over a frozen yogurt shop that was just offering stuff for people who are gluten-free and diabetic. And she was like posting her like private DMs with the company spokesperson. It was all this really ridiculous stuff. And it just became bigger and bigger. And she still hasn't really understood what's happening.
So she sort of apologized, but she still acted like she was better and smarter than them. And she said, I will do whatever I can to work with this froyo shop if they want to help align the messaging. I'm genuinely sorry that people took it the wrong way. I just get really passionate.
It felt like she was just having kind of a manic reaction to it.
Yeah, overdoing it.
Yeah, she was overdoing it a little bit too much. She was getting a little bit too obsessive over it. But then you started talking about how much you hate frozen yogurt.
I hate frozen yogurt so much. So I hate frozen yogurt and gelato a lot. And I think this is because I lived in Europe for so long and you could not get good ice cream in Europe. It was all gelato. And gelato, I understand it's good too, but in a different way. But I missed the mouthfeel and the niceness of regular ice cream so much. And I don't even eat frozen yogurt because I figure it's not worth it. Like, and I don't like it. So I always get Ben & Jerry's or Haagen-Dazs or something, you know, full fat and good. You could just eat less of it. You know, if you're conscious of not having a lot of ice cream, just eat less. So I'm like, why you even go to a frozen yogurt shop? Because that's the whole reason.
Yeah.
It's to save calories. Like, there's no other reason.
Well, I like the taste of frozen yogurt. The one really good yogurt place near me is like expensive, and they like really put a lot of effort, I feel like, into making it taste good. I love the yogurt at the local place. Yeah, I'd prefer regular ice cream too, but regular ice cream sometimes makes me sick, so.
Oh, that's why you eat frozen yogurt. That's another good reason to eat frozen yogurt if you have lactose intolerance.
Yeah.
For me, it goes ice cream, then custard, then gelato, then frozen yogurt. I have strong opinions about it. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week.
I guess I'm doing my comments of the week first.
Yeah, because yours isn't funny. Mine isn't that funny either, but maybe we can make it funny.
Well, I have one funny comment. I have like 2 comments of the week. So one is from Twitter. You know, I post all the links to the stories. And so on the Duchess Kate dusted off her big shiny gold Dolce & Gabbana buttons this week. That in the comment from Awesome Beloved was peacemaking buttons to you, ma'am.
Yeah. The rocks of the monarchy are buttons.
Future queen of buttons, yeah. And then another comment. Oh, on the Vanity Fair story. That was like another big moment this week that hasn't gotten enough play, sort of.
There's so much other Royals news. It's hard because it got lost.
Yeah. So the Vanity Fair cover story for, I guess, May is Diana with Harry and William when they were babies. And then the cover story is all about just the state of the monarchy today and how William and Harry are at war and whether or not Charles will even be king. It's very interesting and it's very shady, and the coverage was very welcome. Anyway, so Mads wrote, William is Charles on steroids when it comes to jealousy and his sense of entitlement. I picture a future king and Prince of Wales briefing against each other and the tabloids pushing for more and more to feed the voracious clickbait revenue stream. Charles will throw William under the bus and his affairs will become media fodder. Likewise, William will brief against Kate to keep her in check if she begins to get positive press.
Yeah.
And it's very accurate about what the next, 10 years are going to hold for the 3 of them, Charles, William, and Kate.
Because they're all out for themselves, and William and Kate are even having separate messaging now, too.
Right. I mean, King Charles is going to be interesting all on its own, but William as Prince of Wales is going to be a fucking mess. And, like, the wheels are going to come off. And Mads is completely right about that.
Yeah. They already are.
Yeah.
It's all about him. And like you said, Camilla isn't doing anything. She's just sitting back, riding horses and playing with her dogs and drinking.
Drinking a lot.
I'm thinking of Tracy Ullman playing her. That's how I always picture her home life. And Kate is like, I'm so great. Look at me. And William's like, I'm so mad. So my comment of the week is on the post about Sharon Osbourne on Bill Maher's show, and Oya covered that, and I watched it, and Bill and Sharon were terrible. Bill basically said that he's too old to learn about racism and to not be racist. He didn't say it directly, but he pretty much said that. So Marty wrote, if I didn't know who was speaking, I would have thought that transcript was from a Tucker Carlson segment. Yes, it sounded like Tucker Carlson. They were bad.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Maher, he went off the deep end years ago. He went full throttle, racist, Islamophobe, anti-Muslim, about everything. Anti-immigrant, just horrible.
How does he still have a show? There can't be that many terrible people who are like sort of liberal but also racist. Like, how does he still? Maybe there are.
I don't know. I guess because he's already been like fired and massively canceled one time, which was after 9/11.
Okay.
So maybe they just don't want to do it to him again.
He's got a good team of lawyers.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe HBO just doesn't care. I guess John Oliver is bringing in enough money for them. They're like, we can have Bill Maher.
Yeah, he's the secondary one. I should have picked a funnier one, but I did a half-assed job looking, so.
I liked my one about buttons.
Your one about buttons was good. We should have ended with that. I didn't see that when I stuck mine at the end. All right. Thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.